Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and today we're stepping into a city that is quite literally holding its breath. The fog has settled over London, and it's not just a weather condition here.
Right, it's a shroud. I'm so glad to be here to unpack this with you because the atmosphere in this material is incredibly heavy. You have the newsboys shouting in the squares.
Yeah, their voices just cutting through the damp air, crying out the details of this brutal, senseless crime, the murder of Sir Danvers Carew.
But while the whole city is reeling from that public horror, our deep dive today is actually moving away from the noise. We are leaving those public streets.
Exactly. We're following one man, Mr. Utterson, the lawyer. We're watching him turn his back on the public outcry and step into the private, really silent terror of a friend's home.
This is the incident of the letter.
It's late in the afternoon when Utterson arrives at the door of Dr. Henry Jekyll. And, the house is familiar to him. It's usually a symbol of respectability.
But today, the atmosphere is just altered. He's admitted at once by Poole, the butler, but he isn't taken to the warm, comfortable rooms where he's dined so many times before.
No, today the journey goes deeper. Poole leads him down through the kitchen offices and across a yard.
A yard that was once a garden?
Right. But now it's paved. It's cold. They're heading toward the building at the back. That structure indifferently known as the laboratory or the dissecting rooms.
It's a place of history and really uncomfortable echoes. Dr. Jekyll had bought this house from the heirs of a celebrated surgeon, actually.
And while Jekyll's tastes were, chemical rather than anatomical, the ghost of the building's past definitely remains.
It's the crossing of a threshold for Utterson. Think about it. In all the years of their friendship, he has never been received here.
Never. He eyes this dingy, windowless structure with a curiosity that is very quickly souring into dread.
And then he enters the theater, the lecture hall.
Picture the room as we describe this. It's a large, gaunt space. Once, it was crowded with eager students, their eyes fixed on the surgeon's knife.
And now, it is desolate. It lies gaunt and silent. The tables are just laden with chemical apparatus, glass and metal gleaming dully in the gloom.
The floor isn't even clear. It's strewn with crates and littered with packing straw.
And the light is struggling.
Yeah, it falls dimly through this foggy cupola in the roof, a distended, sickly illumination that barely reaches the corners.
At the further end of this cavernous room, a flight of stairs mounts to a door covered with red baize.
Which is such a striking detail, that red baize, a flash of color in all that gray.
Through this door, Mr. Utterson is at last received into the doctor's private cabinet. It's a large room, fitted round with glass presses containing chemicals and compounds.
It's furnished with a cheval glass, a tall, swinging mirror, and a business table.
But the world outside is pressing in. The room looks out upon the court by 3 dusty windows barred with iron.
The fog is so thick outside, even this early in the evening, that the light is choked.
A fire burns in the grate, and a lamp is set lighted on the chimney shelf, just trying to push back the encroaching gloom.
And there, sitting close to the warmth, is Dr. Henry Jekyll.
But he is not the vibrant, healthy man Utterson knows.
No, he looks deadly sick. He doesn't even rise to meet his visitor. He simply holds out a cold hand and bids him welcome in a voice that is completely unrecognizable.
Utterson wastes no time on pleasantries here. The shadow of the Carew murder is just too long. He looks at his friend and asks, "And now you have heard the news."
The doctor shudders. It's a visceral, physical recoil. They were crying it in the square, he says. I heard them in my dining room.
Utterson presses him. He needs to know exactly where they stand legally and morally. "One word," says the lawyer. "Carew is my client, but so are you, and I want to know what I am doing. You have not been mad enough to hide this fellow."
The reaction from Jekyll is immediate, and it's desperate. "Utterson, I swear to God," cries the doctor, his voice rising. "I swear to God I will never set eyes on him again."
He sounds broken. He continues, binding his honor to the promise. "I am done with him in this world. It is all at an end."
And indeed, he does not want my help, Jekyll says. You do not know him as I do. He is safe. He is quite safe. Mark my words, he will never more be heard of.
Utterson listens to this gloomily. He watches his friend's feverish manner with a lawyer's skepticism. "You seem pretty sure of him," he says.
And for your sake, I hope you may be right. If it came to a trial, your name might appear.
"I am quite sure of him," replies Jekyll. "I have grounds for certainty that I cannot share with anyone."
And right here, the dynamic shifts completely. Jekyll is holding something back, but he's also desperately seeking help.
Exactly. He says, "But there is one thing on which you may advise me."
A piece of physical evidence. A tether to the nightmare. Jekyll tells him, I have received a letter, and I am at a loss whether I should show it to the police.
I should like to leave it in your hands, Utterson. You would judge wisely, I am sure. I have so great a trust in you.
Utterson's legal mind engages at once. You fear, I suppose, that it might lead to his detection.
No, says Jekyll. And this admission is so startling in its selfishness. I cannot say that I care what becomes of Hyde. I am quite done with him.
I was thinking of my own character, which this hateful business is rather exposed.
Utterson ruminates on this. He is surprised by his friend's selfishness, and yet, paradoxically, he's relieved by it.
Right, because if Jekyll is only worried about his reputation, perhaps he wasn't as deep in with Hyde as Utterson originally feared. It suggests a separation of their interests.
Well, he says at last, let me see the letter.
The letter is written in an odd, upright hand and signed Edward Hyde.
It signifies, briefly enough, that the writer's benefactor, Dr. Jekyll, need labor under no alarm for his safety. Hyde claims he has means of escape on which he places a sure dependence.
Utterson actually likes the letter well enough. It puts a much better color on the intimacy than he had looked for. It sounds like a final goodbye.
But then the lawyer's instinct kicks in. He asks the crucial question, the one that anchors this piece of paper to reality. Have you the envelope?
I burned it, replies Jekyll, before I thought what I was about.
And then he adds the detail that will haunt Utterson later, but it bore no postmark. The note was handed in.
Handed in. Not mailed. Shall I keep this and sleep upon it? Asks Utterson.
I wish you to judge for me entirely, is the reply. I have lost confidence in myself.
Well, I shall consider, returns the lawyer. But there is one more thing pressing on his mind. A suspicion he just cannot shake.
And now one word more. It was Hyde who dictated the terms in your will about that disappearance.
The doctor seems seized with a sudden qualm of faintness. He shuts his mouth tight and simply nods.
I knew it, says Utterson. He meant to murder you. You have had a fine escape.
I have had what is far more to the purpose, returns the doctor solemnly. I have had a lesson. Oh God, Utterson, what a lesson I have had.
And for a moment he just covers his face with his hands, hiding the shame and the horror etched there.
The interview is over. Utterson leaves the cabinet, descending those stairs, crossing the theater where the shadows seem to have lengthened.
But on his way out, the lawyer stops. He needs to verify the timeline. He speaks with Poole on the doorstep.
By the by, he says, casual but probing, there was a letter handed in today. What was the messenger like?
Poole's answer is immediate and devastatingly clear. Nothing had come except by post. And only circulars by that.
This news sends the visitor off with his fears completely renewed. The relief he felt reading that letter evaporates. Plainly, the letter had come by the laboratory door.
Or, more terrifyingly, it had been written in the cabinet itself.
Yes. If there was no messenger and no post, the origin of the letter is right there within the walls of Jekyll's own sanctuary.
Utterson steps out into the street. The newsboys are still crying themselves hoarse along the footways. Special edition. Shocking murder of an MP.
That shout is essentially the funeral oration of one friend and client. And Utterson cannot help but feel a certain apprehension, lest the good name of another should be sucked down in the eddy of the scandal.
It's a ticklish decision he has to make. Self-reliant as he is by habit, he begins to cherish a longing for advice.
It's not to be had directly, but perhaps he thinks it might be fished for.
We move now from the cold, foggy streets to the warmth of Utterson's hearth. The transition is sharp.
Outside, the world is drowning. Inside, there's order. Utterson sits on one side of his own fireplace. Across from him sits Mr. Guest, his head clerk.
Midway between them, at a nicely calculated distance from the fire, stands a bottle of a particular old wine that had long dwelt unsunned in the foundations of his house.
You really have to feel the atmosphere here to understand the scene. The fog still sleeps on the wing above the drowned city.
The street lamps glimmer like carbuncles.
Glowing red eyes in the mist. Through the muffle and smother of these falling clouds, the procession of the town's life is still rolling in through the great arteries with a sound as of a mighty wind.
But here, the room is gay with firelight. In the bottle, the acids were long ago resolved. The imperial dye has softened with time as the color grows richer in stained windows.
The glow of hot autumn afternoons on hillside vineyards is ready to be set free and to disperse the fogs of London. Insensibly, the lawyer melts.
There is no man from whom he keeps fewer secrets than Mr. Guest, and he's not always sure that he keeps as many as he means to.
Guest has often been on business to the doctors. He knows Poole. He could scarce have failed to hear of Mr. Hyde's familiarity about the house.
Utterson decides to test the waters. Guest is a student and critic of handwriting. It's his passion.
If Utterson shows him the letter, Perhaps a remark, a casual observation, might shape his future course.
This is a sad business about Sir Danvers, Utterson begins.
Yes, sir, indeed. It has elicited a great deal of public feeling, returns Guest. The man, of course, was mad.
I should like to hear your views on that, replies Utterson. I have a document here in his handwriting. It is between ourselves, for I scarce know what to do about it. It is an ugly business at the best. But there it is, quiet in your way. A murderer's autograph.
Guest's eyes brighten. This is his domain. He sits down at once and studies it with passion.
He examines the slope,
The pressure?
the formation of the letters,
No, sir, he says finally. Not mad, but is an odd hand.
and by all accounts a very odd writer, adds the lawyer.
And then the hand of fate intervenes. Just then, a servant enters with a note.
Is that from Dr. Jekyll, sir? Inquires the clerk. I thought I knew the writing. Anything private, Mr. Utterson.
Only an invitation to dinner. Why? Do you want to see it?
One moment. I thank you, sir.
The clerk lays the 2 sheets of paper alongside each other on the table. The firelight dances across them,
The murderer's note.
and the doctor's invitation.
He compares them sedulously.
He leans in, his eyes darting back and forth, tracing the lines.
The silence in the room just stretches out. Utterson watches, waiting.
Finally, Guest looks up. Thank you, sir, he says, returning both. It's a very interesting autograph.
There is a pause, during which Mr. Utterson struggles with himself. He knows he shouldn't ask, but he must.
Why did you compare them, Guest? He inquires suddenly.
Well, sir, returns the clerk, there's a rather singular resemblance. The 2 hands are in many points identical, only differently sloped.
The words hang in the air. Identical, only differently sloped.
Rather quaint, says Utterson, his voice carefully neutral.
It is, as you say, rather quaint, returns Guest.
Utterson knows what he must do. He has to bury this. I wouldn't speak of this note, says the master.
No, sir, says the clerk. I understand.
The scene ends there, but the night does not. We are left with Utterson, alone.
No sooner is he alone that night than he locks a note into his safe. It reposes there, in the dark, cold steel.
But the safety of the lock cannot contain the realization that is flooding Utterson's mind. He stands before the fire, the warmth offering no comfort against the chill in his blood.
He plays the events back. The letter. The lack of a postmark.
Poole's denial of a messenger.
The identical handwriting nearly tilted backward.
It is not just that Hyde is back. It is not just that Hyde dictated the will. The truth is far more grotesque.
What? He thinks the internal monologue screaming in the silence of the room. Henry Jekyll forged for a murderer.
And his blood runs cold in his veins.
This is where we leave Mr. Utterson. Standing in his study, the fog pressing against the windows like a physical weight.
He went looking for reassurance that his friend was free of a monster. He hoped to find that Jekyll was merely a victim of blackmail or fear.
Instead, he found something far more disturbing. The mystery has shifted entirely. It is no longer just about the brutality of Edward Hyde.
It is about the complicity of Henry Jekyll.
We often think we know the people closest to us. We think we know the absolute boundaries of their morality. But as the fog descends on London and that letter sits locked in the safe, we are reminded that some doors, once opened, reveal things we wish we had never seen.
The line between the respectable doctor and the fugitive murderer has not just blurred. In the slope of a handwriting, in the stroke of a pen, it has vanished.
So as you go about your day, ask yourself what shadows might be hiding behind the respectable doors in your own life. What secrets are written in the margins of the mundane?
Thank you for joining us in the fog.
Until next time.